梁哥制作，中国大陆语文课3年级上册。一大青树下的小学。大青树下的小学。早晨，从山坡上，从平坝里，从一条条开着绒球花和太阳花的小路上。
Produced by Bilingual, Mainland Chinese Language Course, 3rd Grade Volume 1. 1. The primary school under the big green tree. Elementary school under the big green tree. In the morning, from the hillside, from Pingba, and from the paths with pom-pom flowers and sunflowers blooming.
走来了许多小学生，有汉族的，有傣族的，有景颇族的，还有阿昌族和德昂族的。大家穿戴不同，来到学校都成了好朋友。那鲜艳的服装把学校打扮得绚丽多彩。
Many primary school students came, including Han, Dai, Jingpa, Achang and Diang. We all dressed up differently and came to school and became good friends. The bright clothes make the school colorful.
同学们向在校园里欢唱的小鸟打招呼，向敬爱的老师问好，向高高飘扬的国旗敬礼。当当当当当当，大青树上的铜钟敲响了。上课了，不同民族的小学生。
The students greeted the birds singing happily on campus, greeted their beloved teachers, and saluted the national flag flying high. Dang, dang, dang. Dang, dang, dang. The bronze bell on the big green tree rang. Class is here, primary school students of different nationalities.
在同一间教室里学习，大家一起朗读课文，那声音真好听。这时候，窗外十分安静，树枝不摇了，鸟不叫了，蝴蝶停在花朵上，好像都在听同学们读课文。最有趣的是
Study in the same classroom. Everyone read the text together, the sound was so nice. At this time, it was very quiet outside the window, the branches stopped shaking, the birds stopped singing, and the butterflies stopped on the flowers, as if they were listening to the students reading the text. The most interesting thing is,
跑来了2只猴子，这些山林里的朋友是那样好奇地听着。下课了，大家在大青树下跳孔雀舞、摔跤、做游戏，招引来许多小鸟，连松鼠、山狸也赶来看热闹。
2 monkeys came running. These friends in the mountains and forests listened so curiously. After class, everyone danced peacock dance, wrestled, and played games under the big green tree, attracting many birds, and even squirrels and mountain cats came to watch the fun.
这就是我们的可爱的小学，一所边疆的小学。古老的铜钟挂在大青树粗壮的枝干上，凤尾竹的影子在洁白的粉墙上摇晃。花的学校，花的学校。
This is our lovely primary school, a frontier primary school. The ancient bronze bell hangs on the thick branches of the big green tree. The shadow of the phoenix tail bamboo sways on the whitewashed wall. 2. The School of Flowers. Flower School.
当雷云在天上轰响，6月的阵雨落下的时候，湿润的东风走过荒野，在竹林中吹着口笛。于是，一群一群的花从无人知道的地方突然跑出来，在绿草上跳舞狂欢。妈妈。
When thunderclouds roar in the sky and June showers fall, the moist east wind passes through the wilderness and plays the flute in the bamboo forest. So, groups of flowers suddenly ran out from unknown places, dancing and carnivaling on the green grass. Mother.
我真的觉得那些花朵是在地下的学校里上学，他们关了门做功课。如果他们想在放学以前出来游戏，他们的老师是要罚他们站墙角的。雨一来，他们便放假了。
I really feel like those flowers go to school underground. They close the door and did their homework. If they want to come out to play before school, their teacher will make them stand in a corner. As soon as the rain comes, they take a holiday.
树枝在林中互相碰触着，绿叶在狂风里簌簌地响，雷云拍着大手。这时，花孩子们便穿了紫的、黄的、白的衣裳冲了出来。你可知道，妈妈，他们的家是在天上。
The branches touched each other in the forest, the green leaves rustled in the strong wind, and the thunderclouds clapped their hands. At this time, the flower children rushed out wearing purple, yellow, and white clothes. Do you know, Mom, their home is in heaven.
在星星所住的地方。你没有看见他们怎样的急着要到那儿去吗？你不知道他们为什么那样急急忙忙吗？3不懂就要问。孙中山小时候在私塾读书，那时候上课。
Where the stars live. Don't you see how anxious they are to get there? Don't you know why they are in such a hurry? 3. If you don't understand, just ask. Sun Yat-sen studied in a private school when he was a child. There was class at that time.
先生念，学生跟着念，咿咿呀呀，像唱歌一样。学生读熟了，先生就让他们一个一个的背诵。至于书里的意思，先生从来不讲。一天，孙中山来到学校，照例把书放到先生面前。
The teacher recited, and the students followed him, babbling, babbling, like singing. Once the students are familiar with it, the teacher will ask them to recite it one by one. As for the meaning of the book, the teacher never talks about it. One day, Sun Yat-sen came to school and put the book in front of his teacher as usual.
流利地背出昨天所学的功课。先生听了，连连点头。接着，先生在孙中山的书上又圈了一段，他念一句，叫孙中山念一句。孙中山会读了，就回到座位上练习背诵。
Recite fluently what you learned yesterday. The gentleman listened and nodded repeatedly. Then, the teacher circled another paragraph in Sun Yat-sen's book. He read a sentence and asked Sun Yat-sen to read a sentence. After Sun Yat-sen knew how to read, he returned to his seat to practice reciting.
孙中山读了几遍就背下来了，可是书里说的是什么意思，他一点儿也不懂。孙中山想，这样糊里糊涂的背有什么用呢？于是他壮着胆子站起来，问先生。
Sun Yat-sen read it several times and memorized it. However, he had no idea what the book meant. Sun Yat-sen thought, what's the use of memorizing it in such a muddle? So he bravely stood up and asked, Mr.
您刚才让我背的这段书是什么意思？请您给我讲讲吧。这一问，把正在摇头晃脑、高声念书的同学们吓呆了，课堂里霎时变得鸦雀无声。先生拿着戒尺走到孙中山跟前。
What does the passage you asked me to memorize just now mean? Please tell me about it. This question stunned the students who were shaking their heads and reading loudly, and the classroom suddenly became silent. The teacher took the ruler and walked to Sun Yat-sen.
厉声问道：“你会背了吗？”“会背了。”孙中山说着，就把那段书一字不漏地背了出来。先生收起戒尺，摆摆手，让孙中山坐下，说：“我原想书中的道理，你们长大了自然会知道的。”
He asked sharply, Can you memorize it? I know how to memorize it. Sun Yat-sen said, and he recited that section of the book verbatim. The teacher put away his ruler, waved his hand for Sun Yat-sen to sit down, and said, I originally thought that when you grow up, you will naturally understand the principles in the book.
现在你们既然想听，我就讲讲吧。先生讲得很详细，大家听得很认真。后来有个同学问孙中山：“你向先生提出问题，不怕挨打吗？”孙中山笑了笑，说：“学问学问。”
Now since you want to listen, let me tell you. The teacher spoke in great detail, and everyone listened attentively. Later, a classmate asked Sun Yat-sen, Aren't you afraid of getting beaten when you ask questions to the teacher? Sun Yat-sen smiled and said, Learn and learn.
不懂就要问，为了弄清楚道理，就是挨打也值得。4. 古诗三首，山行。山行，唐·杜牧。远上寒山石径斜，白云生处有人家。停车坐爱枫林晚，霜叶红于二月花。
If you don't understand, ask. It's worth getting beaten just to figure it out. 4. 3 ancient poems, Mountain Travel. Mountain Tour. Tang Dynasty, Du Mu. Far up the cold mountain, the stone path is sloping. There is a home where the white clouds are born. Stop and sit in love with the maple. Lin Wan. The leaves are red in February.
赠刘景文，宋·苏轼。何见以无情雨盖，菊残犹有傲霜枝。一年好景君须记，最是橙黄橘绿时。夜书所见，宋·叶绍翁。萧萧无厌送寒声，江上秋风动客情。
Presented to Lu Jingguan. Song Dynasty Su Shi. The load is gone and there is no rain cover. There are still proud frost branches among the chrysanthemums. You must remember a good year. It is the most orange yellow orange green time. What I saw in the night book. Song Dynasty Yi Shaoweng. The rustle of wuya leaves sends a cold sound. The autumn wind on the river moves the guests.
只有儿童调促织，夜深篱落一灯明。5. 铺满金色巴掌的水泥道，一夜秋风，一夜秋雨。我背着书包去上学时，天开始放晴了。啊，多么明朗的天空！可是
I know there are children who pick and knit. Late at night, a light falls on the fence. 5. The concrete road covered with golden palms. One night of autumn wind, one night of autumn rain. When I went to school with my school bag on my back, the sky started to clear up. Ah, what a clear sky. But
地面还是潮湿的，不时还能看见一个亮晶晶的水洼，映着一角小小的蓝天。道路两旁的法国梧桐树掉下了一片片金黄金黄的叶子，这一片片闪着雨珠的叶子一掉下来。
The ground is still damp, and from time to time you can see a sparkling puddle, reflecting a small corner of the blue sky. The plane trees on both sides of the road dropped golden leaves. The leaves, shining with raindrops, fell down.
便紧紧地粘在湿漉漉的水泥道上了。我走在院墙外的水泥道上， 水泥道上铺上了一块彩色的地毯，这是一块印着落叶图案的闪闪发光的地毯。
It stuck tightly to the wet cement road. I walked on the concrete path outside the courtyard wall. The concrete statue is covered with a colorful carpet. This is a sparkling carpet printed with fallen leaves.
从脚下一直铺到很远很远的地方，一直到路的尽头。每一张法国梧桐树的落叶都像一个金色的小巴掌，欲贴地平展地粘在水泥道上。它们排列的并不规则。
It is paved from the feet to far, far away, all the way to the end of the road. Each fallen leaf of the French plane tree is like a small golden palm, stuck flatly and flatly on the cement road. They are arranged irregularly.
甚至有些凌乱。然而，这更增添了水泥道的美。我一步一步小心地走着，一片一片仔细地数着。我穿着一双棕红色的小雨靴，你瞧，这多像两只棕红色的小鸟。
Even a little messy. However, this adds to the beauty of the concrete walkway. I walked carefully step by step, counting each piece carefully. I'm wearing a pair of brown-red rain boots. Look, they look like two brown-red birds.
在秋天金黄的叶丛间，愉快地蹦跳着，歌唱着。要不是怕上课迟到，我会走得很慢很慢的。一夜秋风，一夜秋雨。当我背着书包去上学时，第一回觉得
Jumping and singing happily among the golden leaves of autumn. If I weren't afraid of being late for class, would walk very slowly. One night of autumn wind, one night of autumn rain. When I went to school with my school bag on my back, for the first time I felt.
门前的水泥道真美啊！六秋天的雨，秋天的雨是一把钥匙，它带着清凉和温柔，轻轻的，轻轻的，趁你没留意，把秋天的大门打开了。秋天的雨有一盒五彩缤纷的颜料。
The cement road in front of the door is so beautiful. 6. Autumn rain. Autumn rain is a key. With coolness and gentleness, it gently, gently opens the door to autumn without you noticing. In the autumn rain, there is a box of colorful paints.
你看，他把黄色给了银杏树，黄黄的叶子像一把小扇子，扇哪扇啊，扇走了夏天的炎热。他把红色给了枫树，红红的枫叶像一枚煤邮票，飘啊飘啊，游来了秋天的凉爽。
You see, it gave the yellow color to the ginkgo tree. The yellow leaves are like small fans, fanning them wherever they go, fanning away the heat of summer. It gives the red color to the maple trees. The red maple leaves are like stamps, fluttering and fluttering, bringing the coolness of autumn.
金黄色是给田野的，看，田野像金色的海洋。橙红色是给果树的，橘子、柿子你挤我碰，争着要人们去摘呢。菊花仙子得到的颜色就更多了，紫红的、淡黄的、雪白的。
The golden color is for the fields. Look, the fields are like a golden ocean. The orange-red color is for fruit trees. Oranges and persimmons are squeezed by each other, vying for people to pick them. The chrysanthemum fairy gets more colors, purple red, light yellow, snow white.
美丽的菊花在秋雨里频频点头。秋天的雨藏着非常好闻的气味，梨香香的，菠萝甜甜的，还有苹果、橘子，好多好多香甜的气味都躲在小雨滴里呢。小朋友的脚。
Beautiful chrysanthemums nod frequently in the autumn rain. Autumn rain has a very pleasant smell. Pears are fragrant, pineapples are sweet, and there are apples and oranges. There are so many sweet smells, all hidden in the little raindrops. Children's feet.
常被那香味勾住。秋天的雨吹起了金色的小喇叭，它告诉大家冬天快要来了。小喜鹊衔来树枝造房子，小松鼠找来松果当粮食，小青蛙在加紧挖洞。
I am often attracted by that fragrance. The autumn rain blows the golden trumpet, telling everyone that winter is coming. The little magpie picked up branches to build a house, the little squirrel found pine cones for food, and the little frog was digging holes.
准备舒舒服服地睡大觉。松柏穿上厚厚的、油亮亮的衣裳，杨树、柳树的叶子飘到树妈妈的脚下，它们都在准备过冬了。秋天的雨带给大地的是一曲丰收的歌。
Get ready for a good night's sleep. The pines and cypresses put on thick, shiny clothes, and the leaves of poplar and willow trees floated to the feet of the tree mother. They are all preparing for winter. The autumn rain brings a harvest song to the earth.
带给小朋友的是一首欢乐的歌。七听听秋的声音，听听秋的声音。大树抖抖手臂，沙沙，是黄叶道别的话音。听听秋的声音，蟋蟀震动翅膀，蛐蛐。
It is a happy song for children. 7. Listen to the voice of autumn. Listen. The voice of autumn. The big tree shook its arms. Swish. It was Huang Ye's words of farewell. Listen. The voice of autumn. The cricket flaps its wings.
是和阳台告别的歌韵。一排排大雁追上白云，洒下一阵暖暖的叮咛。一阵阵秋风掠过田野，送来一片丰收的歌吟。听听，走进秋，走进这辽阔的音乐厅。
It's the rhyme of saying goodbye to the balcony. Rows of wild geese catch up with the white clouds. Scatter a warm reminder. A gust of autumn wind swept across the fields, sending a song of harvest. Listen. Entering autumn. Entering this vast concert hall.
你好的去听，秋的声音，秋的声音，在每一片叶子里，在每一朵小花上，在每一滴汗水里，在每一颗饱满的谷粒里，听听秋的声音，从远方匆匆的来。
Listen carefully. Autumn's voice. The voice of autumn. In every leaf. On every little flower. In every drop of sweat. In every full grain. Listen. The voice of autumn. Coming in a hurry from afar.
向远方匆匆的去，听听，我们去听秋的声音。去年的树，一棵树和一只鸟是好朋友。鸟站在树枝上，天天给树唱歌。树呢，天天听着鸟唱。日子一天天过去。
Go in a hurry to the distance. Listen. Let's listen to the voice of autumn. 8. Last year's tree. A tree and a bird are good friends. Birds stand on the branches and sing to the tree every day. As for the tree, I listen to the birds singing every day. The days pass day by day.
寒冷的冬天就要来到了，鸟必须离开树，飞到很远很远的地方去。树对鸟说：“再见了，小鸟，明年春天请你回来，还唱歌给我听。”鸟说：“好的，我明年一定回来给你唱歌。”
The cold winter is coming. The birds must leave the trees and fly far, far away. The tree said to the bird, "Goodbye, little bird. Please come back next spring and sing to me." The bird said, "Okay, I will definitely come back next year and sing to you."
请等着我吧。鸟说完，就向南方飞去了。春天又来了，原野上、森林里的雪都融化了。鸟又回到这里找他的好朋友树来了。可是发生了什么事情呢？树不见了。
Please wait for me. After the bird finished speaking, it flew south. Spring is here again. The snow in the fields and forests has melted. The bird came back here again to find her good friend, the tree. But what happened? The tree is gone.
只剩下树根留在那里。立在这儿的那棵树到什么地方去了呀？鸟问树根。树根回答：伐木人用斧子把它砍倒，拉到山谷里去了。鸟向山谷里飞去。
Only the roots of the tree remained. Where did the tree standing here go? The bird asked the root. The tree root replied, The woodcutter chopped him down with an axe and pulled him into the valley. The birds flew into the valley.
山谷里有个很大的工厂，锯木头的声音沙沙地响着。鸟落在工厂的大门上，他问大门：“门先生，我的好朋友树在哪儿？您知道吗？”大门回答说：“树吗？”
There is a large factory in the valley, and the sound of sawing wood is loud. The bird landed on the factory gate. She asked the door, Mr. Door, do you know where my good friend Shoe is? The gate replied, It's a tree.
在厂子里给切成细条条，做成火柴，运到那边的村子里卖掉了。鸟向村子里飞去，就卖火柴的小女孩。天冷极了，下着雪，又快黑了。这是一年的最后一天，大年夜。
They were cut into thin strips in the factory and made into matches, then transported to the village over there and sold. The birds flew towards the village. 9. The Little Match Girl. It was extremely cold, it was snowing, and it was getting dark again. This is the last day of the year, New Year's Eve.
在这又冷又黑的晚上，一个乖巧的小女孩赤着脚在街上走着。她从家里出来的时候还穿着一双拖鞋，但是有什么用呢？那是一双很大的拖鞋，那么大，一向是她妈妈穿的。
In this cold and dark night, a well-behaved little girl walked barefoot on the street. She was still wearing a pair of slippers when she came out of the house, but what was the use? They were a pair of big slippers, so big, her mother always wore them.
她穿过马路的时候，两辆马车飞快地冲过来，吓得她把鞋都跑掉了。一只怎么也找不着，另一只叫一个男孩捡起来拿着跑了。他说，将来他有了孩子，可以用它当摇篮。
As she was crossing the road, 2 carriages rushed past so fast that she was so frightened that she ran away from her shoes. One couldn't be found, and the other asked a boy to pick it up and ran away. He said he could use it as a cradle when he had children in the future.
小女孩只好赤着脚走，一双小脚冻得红一块青一块的。她的旧围裙里兜着许多火柴，手里还拿着一把。 这一整天，谁也没买过她一根火柴，谁也没给过她一个硬币。
The little girl had to walk barefoot, and her little feet were red and blue from the cold. She had many matches in her old apron and a handful in her hand. Throughout the whole day, no one bought her a match, and no one gave her a coin.
可怜的小女孩，她又冷又饿，哆哆嗦嗦地向前走。雪花落在她金黄的长头发上，那头发打成卷披在肩上，看上去很美丽。不过她没注意这些，每个窗子里都透出灯光来。
Poor little girl. She was cold and hungry, shivering as she walked forward. Snowflakes fell on her long golden hair, which was curled and draped over her shoulders. She looked very beautiful, but she didn't pay attention to it. Light shines from every window.
街上飘着一股烤鹅的香味，因为这是大年夜，她可忘不了这个。她在一座房子的墙角坐下来，蜷着腿缩成一团。她觉得更冷了。她不敢回家，因为她没卖掉一根火柴。
There was a smell of roast goose in the street, because it was New Year's Eve, and she couldn't forget that. She sat down in the corner of a house and huddled up with her legs. She felt colder. She didn't dare to go home because she didn't sell a match.
没挣到一个钱，爸爸一定会打她的。再说，家里跟街上一样冷，他们头上只有个房顶，虽然最大的裂缝已经用草和破布堵住了，风还是可以灌进来。
If she doesn't earn a penny, her father will definitely beat her. Besides, it's just as cold at home as it is on the street. There was only a roof above them, and although the largest cracks had been blocked with grass and rags, the wind could still get in.
他的一双小手几乎冻僵了。哪怕一根小小的火柴，对他也是有好处的。他敢从成把的火柴里抽出一根，在墙上擦燃了，来暖和自己的小手吗？他终于抽出了一根。
Her little hands were almost frozen. Even a small match is good for her. Did she dare to take out a match from the pile and burn it on the wall to warm her little hands? She finally took out one.
是，火柴燃起来了，冒出火焰来了。他把小手拢在火焰上，多么温暖，多么明亮的火焰啊！简直像一支小小的蜡烛。这是一道奇异的火光。
Chi. The match lit up and flames came out. She put her little hands around the flame. What a warm and bright flame, just like a small candle. This is a strange fire.
小女孩觉得自己好像坐在一个大火炉前面，火炉装着闪亮的铜角和铜把手，烧得旺旺的，暖烘烘的，多么舒服啊！这是怎么回事呢？她刚把脚伸出去，想让脚也暖和一下。
The little girl felt like she was sitting in front of a big stove. The stove was equipped with shiny copper legs and brass handles. It was burning brightly and warm. How comfortable it was. Oh, what's going on? She just stretched out her feet and wanted to warm them up.
火柴灭了，火炉不见了。她坐在那儿，手里只有一根烧过了的火柴梗。她又擦了一根，火柴燃起来了，发出亮光来了。亮光落在墙上，那儿忽然变得像薄纱那么透明。
The match went out and the stove disappeared. She sat there with only a burned matchstick in her hand. She rubbed another one. The match lit up and gave off a bright light. The light fell on the wall, and it suddenly became as transparent as gauze.
她可以一直看到屋里，桌上铺着雪白的台布，摆着精致的盘子和碗，肚子里填满了苹果和梅子的烤鹅正冒着香气。更妙的是，这只鹅从盘子里跳下来，背上插着刀和釉。
She could see all the way into the house. The table was covered with a snow-white tablecloth, and there were exquisite plates and bowls. The aroma of roast goose filled with apples and plums was rising. What's even better is that the goose jumps off the plate with a knife and another knife stuck in its back.
摇摇摆摆地在地板上走着，一直向这个穷苦的小女孩走来。这时候，火柴灭了，她面前只有一堵又厚又冷的墙。石那一定会很好。种子被泥土紧紧地包裹着。
Waddling across the floor, he walked toward the poor little girl. At this time, the match went out, and there was only a thick and cold wall in front of her. Tend up, that would be great. The seeds are tightly wrapped in soil.
他不得不把身体缩成一团，这真难受。种子想，我一定要站起来，大口大口地呼吸空气，那一定会很好。种子一边想一边努力生长。过了些日子，它长出细细的根。
It had to curl up into a ball. This is really uncomfortable. ZZ thought, I must stand up and breathe in the air. It will be good. The seeds tried to grow while thinking about it. After some time, it grew thin roots.
茎和两片小叶子钻出地面，站在阳光下。过了很多个日子，它长成了一棵高大的树。高大的树能看到很远的地方，它看见人和动物在山路上走来走去，跑来跑去。
The stem and two small leaves emerged from the ground and stood in the sun. After many days, it grew into a tall tree. The tall tree can see far away, and it sees people and animals walking and running on the mountain road.
要是能做一棵会跑的树，那一定会很好。树这么想着。一天，一个农夫背了锯子和斧子来到树林里。这棵树的树叶向着农夫哗哗哗地浮动起来，农夫把树砍倒了。
It would be great if we could make a tree that could run. The tree thought so. One day, a farmer came to the woods carrying a saw and an axe. The leaves of the tree fluttered toward the farmer, and the farmer chopped down the tree.
农夫把树拖到自家院子里，花了好些日子，做成了一辆手推车。农夫把谷子、土豆还有调皮的儿子放在手推车上，推着车在山路上跑来跑去。跑起来的时候，
The farmer dragged the tree to his yard and spent several days making it into a wheelbarrow. The farmer put the millet, potatoes, and his naughty son on the cart and pushed the cart up and down the mountain road. When running,
手推车听到耳边呼呼的风声，真舒服。手推车为农夫服务了很多年，它慢慢变老了，跑起来的时候骨头会滋滋嘎嘎的响。要是我能停下来，坐着休息一会儿，那一定会很好。
It's so comfortable to hear the wind whistling in your ears from the trolley. The wheelbarrow has served the farmer for many years, and as it ages, its bones creak when it is run. It would be nice if I could just stop and sit and rest for a while.
手推车一边这么想着，一边费力地跑来跑去。过了些日子，农夫和儿子一起把手推车拆了，用拆下来的旧木料做了把椅子。椅子一放，又是好多年。我真是老了。椅子想。
The cart was thinking this while running around hard. After some time, the farmer and his son dismantled the cart together and made a stopper out of the old wood. The chair remains there for many years. I am so old, thought the chair.
他越来越觉得挺直腰背坐着很吃力，要是我能躺下，那一定会很好。现在，农夫的儿子也已经长成了真正的农夫。他把坐上去会吱呀摇晃的椅子拆了，锯成小木片。
It increasingly finds it difficult to sit with a straight back. It would be great if I could lie down. Now, the farmer's son has grown up to be a real farmer. He dismantled the chairs that squeaked and shook when he sat on them, and sawed them into small pieces of wood.
拼成美丽的木地板铺在了阳台上。木地板满意的舒展着身子，躺在阳日台上，阳光照在身上，暖洋洋的，舒服极了。他觉得自己又变成了一棵树。11，在牛肚子里旅行。
Beautiful wooden floors were put together on the balcony. Satisfied with the wooden floor, I stretched out and lay on the balcony. The sun shone on my body, making it warm and very comfortable. It felt like it had become a tree again. 11. Traveling in the belly of a cow.
有两只小蟋蟀，一只叫青头，另一只叫红头。他们是一对非常要好的朋友。有一天，吃过早饭，青头对红头说：“咱们玩捉迷藏吧。”那我先藏，你来找。红头说：“好吧。”青头说完。
There are two little crickets. One is called Greenhead and the other is called Redhead. They are a pair of very good friends. One day, after breakfast, the Greenhead said to the Redhead, "Let's play hide and seek. Then I'll hide it first, and you can come find it." The Redhead said, "Okay." Chintu said.
转过身子，闭上了眼。红头向周围看了看，悄悄地躲在一个草堆里不作声了。藏好了吗？青头大声问。红头不说话，只露出两只眼睛，偷偷地看。他心想：我要是一答应。
He turned around and closed his eyes. The Redhead looked around, then quietly hid in a haystack and fell silent. Have you hidden it? Chintu asked loudly. The Redhead didn't speak, only exposed his two eyes and looked secretly. It thought to itself, if I agree,
就会被青头发现。正在这时，一头大黄牛从红头后面慢慢走过来。红头做梦也没有想到，大黄牛突然低下头来吃草。可怜的红头还没有来得及跳开。
Will be discovered by Chintu. At this moment, a big yellow ox slowly walked over from behind the Redhead. The Redhead never imagined that the big ox suddenly lowered its head to eat grass. The poor Redhead didn't have time to jump away.
就和草一起被大黄牛卷到嘴里了。救命啊！救命啊！红头拼命地叫起来。你在哪儿？青头急忙问。我被牛吃了，正在他的嘴里，救命啊！救命啊！青头大吃一惊。
It was rolled into the mouth of the big ox together with the grass. Help! Help! The Redhead shouted desperately. Where are you? Chintu asked hurriedly. I was eaten by a cow, in its mouth, help! Help! Chintu was shocked.
他一下子蹦到牛身上，可是那只牛用尾巴轻轻一扫，青头就给摔在地上了。青头不顾身上的疼痛，一咕噜爬起来，大声喊：“ 躲过它的牙齿。牛在这时候从来不会仔细嚼的。
It suddenly jumped on the cow, but the cow swept it lightly with its tail, and Ching-Tu fell to the ground. Regardless of the pain in his body, Ching-Tu climbed up and shouted loudly, "Escape from its teeth! The cow will never chew carefully at this time."
它会把你和草一起吞到肚子里去，那我马上就会死掉。红头哭起来，它和草已经一起进了牛的肚子。青头又跳到牛身上，隔着肚皮和红头说话：“红头，不要怕，你会出来的。”
It will swallow you and the grass into its stomach, then I will die soon. The redhead cried. It and the grass had entered the cow's belly together. The greenhead jumped on the cow again and spoke to the redhead through the belly, "Redhead, don't be afraid, you will come out."
我听说牛肚子里一共有4个胃，前3个胃是贮藏食物的，只有第4个胃才是管消化的。可是你说这些对我有什么用呢？红头悲哀地说：“当然有用，等一会儿牛休息的时候。”
I heard that there are 4 stomachs in the cow's belly. The first 3 stomachs are for storing food, and only the 4th stomach is for digestion. But what use do you say this to me? The redhead said sadly. Of course it will be useful, wait until the cows rest.
他要把刚才吞进去的草重新送回嘴里，然后细嚼慢咽。你是勇敢的蟋蟀，你一定能出来的。谢谢你。红头的声音小的几乎听不见了，他咬着牙不让自己失去知觉。
It wants to put the grass it just swallowed back into its mouth, and then chew it slowly. You are a brave cricket, you will definitely come out. Thank you. The redhead's voice was so low that it was almost inaudible. It gritted its teeth to prevent itself from losing consciousness.
红头在牛肚子里随着草一起移动，从第1个胃到了第2个胃，又从第2个胃回到了牛嘴里。这一下，红头又看见了光亮，可是他已经一动也不能动了。这时
The redhead moves with the grass in the cow's belly. From the first stomach to the second stomach, and from the second stomach back to the cow's mouth. This time, the redhead saw the light again. However, it could no longer move. At this time,
青头爬到了牛鼻子上，用它的身体在牛鼻孔里蹭来蹭去。啊嚏！牛打了一个喷嚏，红头随着一团草一下子给喷了出来。红头看见自己的朋友，高兴地流下了眼泪。谢谢你。
Ching-Tu climbed onto the cow's nose and rubbed its body in the cow's nostrils. Sneeze. The cow sneezed, and the redhead spurted out along with a ball of grass. When the redhead saw his friend, he shed tears of joy. Thank you.
青头笑眯眯地说：“不要哭，就算你在牛肚子里做了一次旅行吧。”12，一块奶酪。蚂蚁队长集合好队伍，向大家宣布：今天搬运粮食，只许出力，不许偷嘴。谁偷了嘴？
Ching-Tu said with a smile, "Don't cry, just think you have made a trip in the belly of the cow." 12, a piece of cheese. The ant captain gathered his team and announced to everyone, "Today we are carrying food, we are only allowed to use our strength, and no one is allowed to steal." Who steals?
就要受到处罚。一只小蚂蚁在队列里嘀咕：“要是偷嘴的是您呢？”蚂蚁队长说：“照要就受处罚。”大家一听，都来劲了，争先恐后赶到运粮地点，抢着抬大的、搬重的。
Will be punished. A little ant muttered in the queue, "What if it was you who stole the news?" Captain Ant said, "You will be punished if you do as you want." When everyone heard this, they all got excited and rushed to the place where the grain was transported, scrambling to lift big and heavy things.
谁也不愿偷懒。就在这时，蚂蚁队长发现了一块大奶酪。那块奶酪实在太大了，他左抬不起，右搬不动，只好叫来7、8只小蚂蚁当助手。奶酪多诱人啊！抬着它。
No one wants to be lazy. Just then, Captain Ant discovered a large piece of cheese. The piece of cheese was so big that he couldn't lift it left or right, so he had to call in 7 or 8 little ants as assistants. The cheese is so tempting. Lift it.
不要说吃，单是闻都要淌口水。小蚂蚁们嘴叼着它，要做到不趁机舔一下，那要多大的毅力，多强的纪律性啊！蚂蚁队长叼着奶酪一脚往前拽着，也许是用力过猛。
Not to mention eating it, just smelling it will make your mouth water. The little ants are holding it in their mouths. It takes a lot of perseverance and discipline to avoid licking it. Captain Ant took a corner of the cheese and pulled it forward, perhaps using too much force.
一下就把那个脚拽掉了。盯着那一点掉在地上的奶酪渣，蚂蚁队长想，丢掉实在可惜，趁机吃掉它，又要犯不许偷嘴的禁令，怎么办呢？他的心七上八下，只好下令休息一会儿。
The corner was pulled off in one go. Staring at the bit of cheese residue that fell on the ground, Captain Ant thought, it would be a pity to throw it away. If he took the opportunity to eat it, he would violate the prohibition against stealing. What to do? His heart was pounding, so he had to order, "Take a rest."
听到命令，大家放下奶酪，却不走开。大家分散开，哪里凉快就到哪里休息。大家依旧不动，眼睛望着别处，心却牵挂着那一点奶酪渣子。蚂蚁队长生气了。
Upon hearing the order, everyone put down the cheese but did not move away. Everyone spread out and rest wherever it's cool. Everyone remained motionless, looking away, but their hearts were concerned about the bit of cheese crumbs. Captain Ant was angry.
他登上一块大石板，突然下令：注意了，全体都有。稍息，立正，向后转，齐步走。等小蚂蚁们消失在草丛中，他才大叫：立定，原地休息。这时，奶酪旁边只有蚂蚁队长，他偷个嘴。
He climbed onto a large stone slab and suddenly ordered, "Attention, everyone is here. Take a break. Stand at attention. Back, turn. Step, go." When the little ants disappeared into the grass, he shouted, "Stand still. Rest where you are." At this time, there was only Captain Ant next to the cheese, and he stole a mouth.
谁也看不见。他低下头，嗅嗅那点奶酪渣子，味道真香。可是他犹豫了一会儿，终于一跺脚：注意了，全体都有。稍息，立正，向后转，齐步走。
No one can see it. He lowered his head and sniffed the cheese crumbs. It smelled so delicious. However, he hesitated for a while and finally stamped his foot. "Attention, everyone is here. Take a break. Stand at attention. Back, turn. Step, walk. Dash."
小蚂蚁们从四面八方的草丛里走拢来了。当他们重新聚到奶酪旁边时，蚂蚁队长命令年龄最小的一只蚂蚁：这点奶酪渣是刚才弄掉的，丢了可惜，你吃掉它吧。
Little ants came from the grass in all directions. When they gathered around the cheese again, the ant captain ordered the youngest ant, "This bit of cheese residue was just removed. It's a pity to lose it. Eat it."
大家又干起活来了，劲头比刚才更足，奶酪一会儿就被搬到洞里去了。13总也倒不了的老屋，老屋已经活了100多岁了，他的窗户变成了黑窟窿，门板也破了洞。
Everyone started working again, with more energy than before, and the cheese was soon moved into the hole. 13. The old house will never fall down. The old house has lived for more than 100 years. Its windows were turned into black holes and its doors had holes in them.
他很久很久没人住了。好了，我到了倒下的时候了。他自言自语着，准备往旁边倒去。等等，老屋，一个小小的声音在他门前响起。再过一个晚上，行吗？今天晚上有暴风雨。
It has been unoccupied for a long, long time. Okay, it's time for me to fall down. It said to itself, preparing to fall to the side. Wait, old house. A small voice sounded in front of its door. One more night, okay? There's a storm tonight.
我找不到一个安心睡觉的地方。老屋低下头，把老花的眼睛使劲往前凑。哦，是小猫啊。好吧，我就再站一个晚上。第二天，天晴了。小猫从门上的破洞跳了出来。喵喵，谢谢。
I couldn't find a safe place to sleep. Laowu lowered his head and pressed Laowa's eyes forward. Oh, it's a kitten. Okay, I'll just stand there one more night. The next day, the sky cleared up. The kitten jumped out of the hole in the door. Meow meow, thank you.
老屋说再见。好了，我到了倒下的时候了。等等，老屋，一个小小的声音在他门前响起。再过21天，行吗？主人想拿走我的蛋，可是我想孵小鸡。
The old house said, "Goodbye. Well, it's time for me to fall. Wait, old house." A small voice sounded in front of its door. 21 more days, okay? The master wants to take away my eggs, but I want to hatch chicks.
我找不到一个安心孵蛋的地方。老屋低头看看墙壁，滋滋呀呀响。哦，是老母鸡呀。好吧，我就再站21天。21天后，老母鸡从破窗户里走了出来。
I can't find a safe place to hatch my eggs. Looking down at the old house, the wall creaked. Oh, it's an old hen. Okay, I will stand for another 21 days. 21 days later, the old hen walked out of the broken window.
9只小鸡从门板下面叽叽叫着钻了出来。叽叽，谢谢。老屋说再见。好了，我到了倒下的时候了。等等，老屋，一个小极了的声音在他门前响起，不注意根本听不到。
9 chicks came out from under the door panel and chirped, "Chi-chi, thank you." The old house said, "Goodbye. Well, it's time for me to fall. Wait, old house." A very small voice sounded in front of its door, and you couldn't hear it if you weren't paying attention.
请再站一会儿吧， 我肚子好饿好饿，外面的树被砍光了，我找不到一个安心织网抓虫的地方。老乌低头看看，眼睛眯成一条缝，哦，是小蜘蛛啊。好吧，我就再站一会儿。
Please stand a little longer. I'm so hungry. The trees outside have been cut down, and I can't find a safe place to weave a net to catch insects. Lao Wu looked down and narrowed his eyes. Oh, it's a little spider. Okay, I'll just stand a little longer.
小蜘蛛飞快地爬进屋子，在屋檐上织了一张又大又漂亮的网。偶尔有虫子撞到了网上，小蜘蛛马上爬过去把虫子吃掉。小蜘蛛，你吃饱了吗？老乌问。没有，没有。
The little spider quickly climbed into the house and weaved a large and beautiful web on the eaves. Occasionally, a bug hits the web, and the little spider immediately crawls over and eats the bug. Little spider, are you full? Old House asked. No, no.
小蜘蛛一边忙着补网，一边回答：老乌，我给你讲个故事吧。老乌想，这倒很有意思，于是他就开始听小蜘蛛讲故事。小蜘蛛的故事一直没讲完，因此
The little spider was busy mending the web and replied, Old house, let me tell you a story. Lao Wu thought, this is quite interesting. So it started to listen to the little spider telling stories. The story of little spider has never been finished, so...
老乌到现在还站在那儿，边晒太阳边听小蜘蛛讲故事。14. 胡萝卜先生的长胡子。胡萝卜先生常常为胡子发愁，因为他长着浓密的胡子，必须每天刮。有一天
The old house still stands there, basking in the sun and listening to the little spider telling stories. 14. Mr. Carrot's long beard. Mr. Carrot often worries about his beard because he has a thick beard and must shave it every day. One day,
胡萝卜先生匆匆忙忙刮了胡子，就吃着果酱面包上街去了。因为他近视，就没有发现漏刮了一根胡子。这根胡子长在下巴的右边。胡萝卜先生吃果酱面包的时候
Mr. Carrot shaved off his beard in a hurry and went out to the street eating jam bread. Because he was short-sighted, he didn't notice that he missed a shave. This beard grows on the right side of the chin when Mr. Carrot eats jam bread.
胡子沾到了甜甜的果酱，对一根胡子来说，果酱是多么好的营养品啊！于是胡萝卜先生一步一步走的时候，这根胡子就在一点一点的变长。
The beard is stained with sweet jam. What a nourishing treat jam is for a beard. So as Mr. Carrot walked step by step, this beard grew longer bit by bit.
只要回头看看胡萝卜先生走了多长的路，就可以知道胡萝卜先生的这根胡子已经长了多长了。胡萝卜先生还在继续走，长胡子被风吹到了身体后面，他完全不知道。
Just look back and see how long Mr. Carrot has walked, and you will know how long Mr. Carrot's beard has grown. Mr. Carrot continued to walk, his long beard blown behind his body by the wind, and he had no idea.
在很远的街口，有一个男孩正在放风筝，线实在太短了，他的风筝只能飞过屋顶。胡萝卜先生的胡子刚好在风里飘动着，这绳子够长了，就是不知道够不够牢固。
At the far corner of the street, a boy was flying a kite. The string was too short, and his kite could only fly over the roof. Mr. Carrot's beard was just fluttering in the wind. This rope is long enough, but I don't know if it is strong enough.
小男孩说完就扯了扯胡子，他确定绳子够牢固，就剪了一段用来放风筝。胡萝卜先生继续往前走，当他走过鸟太太家的树底下，鸟太太正在找绳子晾小鸟的尿布。
After finishing speaking, the little boy tugged on his beard. He made sure that the rope was strong enough, so he cut a section for flying the kite. Mr. Carrot continued to walk forward. When he passed under the tree of Mrs. Bird's house, Mrs. Bird was looking for a rope to dry the bird's diaper.
胡萝卜先生的胡子刚好在风里飘动着。15. 不会叫的狗。从前有一条不会叫的狗，它不会像狗一样叫，不会像猫一样叫，也不会像牛那样哞哞叫。
Mr. Carrot's beard was just fluttering in the wind. 15. A dog that can't bark. Once upon a time, there was a dog that couldn't bark. It doesn't bark like a dog, it doesn't meow like a cat, and it doesn't moo like a cow.
更不会像马那样嘶鸣。它是一只孤零零的小狗，不知道怎么到了一个没有狗的国家。它并没有发现自己有什么毛病，是别人让它知道，不会叫其实是一种很大缺陷。
Not even neighing like a horse. He is a lonely puppy who somehow ended up in a country without dogs. It didn't realize there was anything wrong with it. It was others who let it know that its inability to bark was actually a big flaw.
他们对他说：“你怎么不叫？”我不会，我是从外来的。你这算什么回答呀？你难道不知道狗是会叫的？干嘛要叫？狗会叫，因为它们是狗。它们对过路的陌生人叫，对惹人讨厌的猫叫。
They said to it, Dash. Why don't you scream? I won't, I'm from outside. What kind of answer is that? Don't you know that dogs can bark? Why are you shouting? Dogs bark because they are dogs. They bark at strangers passing by and they bark at annoying cats.
对着满月叫，他们高兴的时候叫，紧张的时候叫，发怒的时候也叫。他们白天叫得多，但晚上也叫。也许是这样，可你怎么了？你这只狗可真特别。去。
Yell at the full moon. They bark when they are happy, they bark when they are nervous, and they bark when they are angry. They bark more during the day, but also at night. Maybe so, but what's wrong with you? You are such a special dog. Go.
总有一天你会上新闻的。小狗不知道该怎么回答这些批评，它不会叫，也不知道怎么才能学会。你跟我学。有一次，一只同情它的小公鸡对它说
You'll be in the news one day. The puppy doesn't know how to respond to these criticisms. It doesn't know how to bark, and it doesn't know how to learn. You learn from me. Once, a sympathetic little cock said to it.
那只小公鸡喔喔喔地叫了几声，我觉得很难。小狗对小公鸡说道：“不难，容易极了。你好好听着，看我的嘴，注意观察我，学我的样子。”小公鸡又喔喔喔地叫起来。
The little rooster crowed a few times. I find it difficult, the puppy said to the cockerel. It's not difficult, it's extremely easy. Listen carefully, look at my mouth, observe me carefully, and learn from me. The little rooster crowed again.
小狗试着照小公鸡的样子做，但嘴里只发出一种滑稽的咯咯声，吓得旁边的小母鸡都逃走了。不要紧，小公鸡说道，第一次能这样就很不错了。你再试试，来。
The puppy tried to do what the little rooster did, but it only made a funny clucking sound, which scared the little hen next to it and ran away. It doesn't matter, said the little rooster, it's great if you can do this the first time. Try it again, come on.
小狗又试了一次、2次、3次，都没能成功。从此，它天天都练习，从早到晚偷偷地练。有时候，为了更自由，它索性到树林里去练。一天早晨，当它正在树林里练习
The puppy tried again, twice, 3 times, but failed. From then on, he practiced every day, secretly from morning to night. Sometimes, in order to be more free, it simply goes to the woods to practice. One morning while he was practicing in the woods,
发出的喔喔喔的叫声是那么逼真，那么好听，那么洪亮。一只狐狸听到了，心里寻思着，公鸡终于来找我了，我得去感谢它的来访。狐狸真的去了，还没忘记带上刀叉和餐巾。
The oh-oh-oh sound it makes is so lifelike, so nice, and so loud. A fox heard it and thought to himself, the rooster finally came to me. I have to thank him for his visit. The fox really went, and he didn't forget to bring his knife, fork, and napkin.
因为对狐狸来说，没有比小公鸡更美味可口的午餐了。可以想见，当他看见啼叫的是一只狗，而不是小公鸡时，该是多么失望啊！那狗蹲坐着，一声又一声地喔喔叫着。哎呀！
Because there is no more delicious lunch for a fox than a cockerel. You can imagine how disappointed it was when it saw that the one crowing was a dog instead of a little rooster. The dog sat squatting and barking one after another. Oops.
狐狸说道：“原来是这样，你是给我设了一个圈套啊！一个圈套。当然了，你让我以为是一只公鸡在树林里迷路了，而你却设下圈套想抓我。幸好我发现的及时，我向你担保。”
The fox said, so that's it. You set a trap for me. A trap? Of course. You made me think that a rooster was lost in the woods, and you set a trap to catch me. Fortunately, I found it in time. I guarantee you.
我压根就没想抓你，我只是在这里练习。练习什么？我练习啼叫，现在差不多已经学会了。你听我叫得多好！说完，他又洪亮地喔喔叫起来。狐狸真想哈哈大笑。
I had no intention of arresting you at all. I'm just practicing here. Practice? What to practice? I practiced howling, and now I have almost mastered it. How nice it is for you to hear me scream. After saying that, it roared loudly again. The fox really wanted to laugh.
他在地上打着滚，捧着肚子，竭力忍着不笑出声来。小狗感到受了委屈，低着头，含着泪花，默默走开了。附近有一只杜鹃，看着小狗走过去，很同情它。你怎么了？没什么。
It rolled on the ground, holding its belly, trying not to laugh. The puppy felt wronged, lowered his head, and walked away silently with tears in his eyes. A cuckoo nearby looked at the puppy and felt pity for it. What's wrong with you? Nothing.
那你为什么这样伤心？ 哎，没什么好说的，因为我不会叫。要是就因为这个，那我可以教你。你听我怎么叫，尽可能模仿我。咕咕咕咕咕咕，你听明白了吗？我觉得很容易。
Then why are you so sad? Oh, there's nothing to say, because I can't bark. If that's the reason, then I can teach you. Listen to what I call and imitate me as much as possible. Goo goo. Goo goo. Goo goo. Do you understand? I think it's easy.
容易极了，我从小就会这样叫。你试试。咕咕咕咕咕，狗学着杜鹃叫。咕。他那天试了，第二天、第三天又试了。1个星期过后，他已经学得相当不错了。小狗真高兴，心想。
It's so easy, I've been calling it that since I was a kid. You try it. Goo goo. Goo goo, goo goo. The dog imitated the cuckoo's cry, goo goo, dash. It tried that day, and tried again on the second and third days. 1 week afterwards, it had learned quite well. The puppy was so happy and thought.
我终于会叫了，现在别人再也不能取笑我了。就在那几天，人们开始打猎了。树林里来了很多猎人，里面还有百发百中的神枪手。哪怕是一只夜鹰，他们也会给打下来。
I finally know how to bark, and now no one can make fun of me anymore. It was during those days that people began to hunt. Many hunters came to the woods, including sharpshooters who were always accurate. Even if it is a nightingale, they will kill it.
一个枪法很准的猎手经过那里，他听见从树丛中传来咕咕的叫声，就举枪瞄准，砰，砰，连开了2枪，幸好没打中。子弹擦过小狗的耳边，就像在连环画里画的那样。
A hunter with good marksmanship passed by. He heard a cooing cry from the bushes, raised his gun and aimed, bang, bang, and fired twice. Fortunately, it missed. The bullet grazed the puppy's ear, like something out of a comic strip.
小狗拔腿就跑，他很诧异，那个猎人准是发疯了，竟然对狗开枪。狗跑啊跑啊，第1种结局，狗跑啊跑啊，它跑到了一片草地上，一头小母牛正在那里安详地吃草。
The puppy ran away. It was very surprised. The hunter must have gone crazy and actually shot at the dog. The dog runs, runs. The first ending. The dog ran and ran until he reached a meadow where a heifer was grazing peacefully.
你去哪儿啊？我不知道。那就别走了。这里的青草特别鲜嫩。哎，青草不能医治我的病。你病了？可不是，我不会叫。可是，这是世界上最容易的事。你听我叫，哞哞哞。
Where are you going? Dot. I have no idea. Then don't leave. The grass here is particularly fresh and tender. Alas, grass cannot cure my disease. Are you sick? No, I won't bark. But this is the easiest thing in the world. Hear me, moo, moo, moo.
还有比这更好听的叫声吗？第2种结局，狗跑啊跑啊，它碰上了一个农民。第3种结局，狗跑啊跑啊，突然停住了。他听见一种奇怪的叫声，汪汪汪汪。
Is there a better cry than this? The second ending. The dog ran, ran, and it met a farmer. Dot. The third ending. The dog ran, ran, suddenly stopped. It heard a strange cry, woof, woof.
这叫声像在对我说什么？狗想，尽管我搞不清这是什么动物在叫。汪汪。16. 搭船的鸟。我和母亲坐着小船到乡下外祖父家里去。我们坐在船舱里，天下着大雨。
This bark sounds like it's saying something to me, thought the dog, even though I couldn't figure out what animal it was. Woof, woof. 16. Birds that hitch a ride. My mother and I took a boat and went to my grandfather's house in the countryside. We sat in the cabin. It's raining heavily.
雨点打在船棚上，沙啦沙啦的响。船夫披着蓑衣，在船后用力地摇着橹。后来雨停了，我看见一只彩色的小鸟站在船头，多么美丽啊！它的羽毛是翠绿的，翅膀带有一些蓝色。
The raindrops hit the canopy of the boat and made a rustling sound. The boatman, wearing a raincoat, was rocking the oar vigorously behind the boat. Then the rain stopped. I saw a colorful bird standing on the bow. How beautiful! Its feathers are emerald green and its wings have some blue.
比鹦鹉还漂亮，它还有一张红色的长嘴。它什么时候飞来的呢？它静悄悄地停在船头，不知有多久了。它站在那里做什么呢？难道它要和我们一起坐船到外祖父家里去吗？
More beautiful than a parrot. It also has a long red mouth. When did it fly here? It parked quietly on the bow of the ship for an unknown amount of time. What was it doing standing there? Is it going to go to my grandfather's house by boat with us?
我正想着，它一下子冲进水里，不见了。可是没一会儿，它飞起来了，红色的长嘴里衔着一条小鱼。它站在船头，一口把小鱼吞了下去。母亲告诉我，这是一只翠鸟。哦。
Just as I was thinking about it, it suddenly rushed into the water and disappeared. However, after a while, it flew up with a small fish in its long red mouth. It stood at the bow of the boat and swallowed the small fish in one gulp. My mother told me that this was a kingfisher. Oh.
这只翠鸟搭了我们的船，在捕鱼吃呢。17. 金色的草地。我们住在乡下，窗前是一大片草地，草地上长满了蒲公英。当蒲公英盛开的时候，这片草地就变成金色的了。
This kingfisher hitched a ride on our boat and was catching fish. 17. Golden grass. We live in the country, and there is a large piece of grass in front of the window. The grass is covered with dandelions. When the dandelions are in bloom, the grass turns golden.
我和弟弟常常在草地上玩耍。有一次，弟弟跑在我前面，我装着一本正经的样子喊谢廖沙。他回过头来，我就使劲一吹，把蒲公英的绒毛吹到他的脸上。弟弟也假装打呵欠。
My brother and I often play on the grass. Once, my brother ran ahead of me, and I pretended to be serious and shouted, Seriosa. When he turned around, I blew hard and blew the dandelion fluff into his face. The younger brother also pretended to yawn.
把蒲公英的绒毛朝我脸上吹。就这样，这些并不引人注目的蒲公英给我们带来了不少快乐。有一天，我起得很早去钓鱼，发现草地并不是金色的，而是绿色的。
Blow dandelion fuzz in my face. In this way, these unobtrusive dandelions bring us a lot of happiness. One day, I got up early to go fishing and found that the grass was not golden, but green.
中午回家的时候，我看见草地是金色的。傍晚的时候，草地又变绿了。这是为什么呢？我来到草地上，仔细观察，发现蒲公英的花瓣是合拢的。原来，蒲公英的花就像我们的手掌。
When I came home at noon, I saw that the grass was golden. In the evening, the grass becomes green again. Why is this? I came to the grass, looked carefully, and found that the petals of the dandelion were closed. It turns out that dandelion flowers are like our palms.
可以张开，合上。花朵张开时，花瓣是金色的，草地也是金色的。花朵合拢时，金色的花瓣被包住了，草地就变成绿色的了。多么可爱的草地，多么有趣的蒲公英。从那时起
can be opened and closed. When the flowers open, the petals are golden, and the grass is golden. When the flowers close, the golden petals are wrapped, and the grass becomes green. What a lovely meadow. What an interesting dandelion. Since then,
蒲公英成了我们最喜爱的一种花。它和我们一起睡觉，和我们一起起床。18. 古诗三首《望天门山》。望天门山，唐·李白。天门中断楚江开，碧水东流至此回。
Dandelions have become one of our favorite flowers. It sleeps with us and wakes up with us. 18. Three ancient poems, looking at Tianmen Mountain. Looking at Tianmen Mountain. Tang Li Bai. The gate of heaven interrupts the opening of Chujiang River. The clear water flows eastwards and returns here.
两岸青山相对出，孤帆一片日边来。饮湖上初晴后雨。宋·苏轼。水光潋滟晴方好，山色空蒙雨亦奇。欲把西湖比西子，淡妆浓抹总相宜。望洞庭，唐·刘禹锡。
The green mountains on both sides of the strait come out opposite each other. The lone sail comes with a piece of sunshine. Drinking on the lake, it starts to clear and then rains dash. Song Dynasty Su Shi. It's better when the water is clear and the water is shining. The color of the mountain is also strange when it is empty and covered with rain. If you want to compare the West Lake to the West, light makeup and heavy makeup are always suitable. Looking at Dongting. Tang Dynasty Lu Yushi.
湖光秋月两相和，潭面无风镜未磨。遥望洞庭山水翠，白银盘里一青螺。19. 富饶的西沙群岛。西沙群岛位于南海的西北部。
The lake light, autumn moon, and two phases harmonize. There are no goggles on the surface of the pool. Looking at the green mountains and rivers of Dongting in the distance. A green snail on a silver plate. 19. The rich Paracel Islands. The Paracel Islands are located in the northwest of the South China Sea.
是我国的海南海省三沙市的一部分，那里风景优美，物产丰富，是个可爱的地方。西沙群岛一带海水五光十色，瑰丽无比，有深蓝的、淡青的、浅绿的、杏黄的。 一块块，一条条。
It is part of Sansha City, Hainan Province, my country. It is a lovely place with beautiful scenery and rich products. The sea water in the Shisha Islands area is colorful and magnificent, dark blue, light green, and apricot yellow. Piece by piece, strip by strip.
相互交错着，因为海底高低不平，有山崖，有峡谷，海水有深有浅，从海面看，色彩就不同了。海底的岩石上生长着各种各样的珊瑚，有的像绽开的花朵，有的像分支的鹿角。
Intertwined with each other. Because the bottom of the sea is uneven, with cliffs and canyons, and the water depth varies, the colors look different when viewed from the sea's surface. Various corals grow on the rocks on the seabed, some like blooming flowers, and some like branched antlers.
海参到处都是，在海底懒洋洋的蠕动。大龙虾全身披甲，划过来，划过去，样子挺威武。鱼成群结队的在珊瑚丛中穿来穿去，好看极了。有的全身布满彩色的条纹。
Sea cucumbers are everywhere, squirming lazily on the bottom of the sea. The big lobster is covered in armor and looks very majestic as it paddles here and there. The fish were swimming in groups among the corals, which was very beautiful. Some are covered with colorful stripes.
有的头上长着一簇红缨，有的周身像插着好些扇子，游动的时候飘飘摇摇；有的眼睛圆溜溜的，身上长满了刺，鼓起气来像皮球一样圆。各种各样的鱼多得数不清。
Some have clusters of red tassels on their heads, some have many fans stuck around their bodies, swaying when swimming, some have round eyes, and their bodies are covered with thorns, and when inflated they become as round as a rubber ball. There are countless kinds of fish.
正像人们说的那样，西沙群岛的海里一半是水，一半是鱼。西沙群岛也是鸟的天下，岛上有一片片茂密的树林，树林里栖息着各种海鸟，遍地都是鸟蛋。
As people say, the sea in the Paracel Islands is half water and half fish. The Paracel Islands are also dominated by birds. There are patches of dense woods on the island, inhabited by various seabirds. Bird eggs were everywhere.
树下堆积着一层厚厚的鸟粪，这是非常宝贵的肥料。富饶的西沙群岛是我们祖祖辈辈生活的地方。随着祖国建设事业的发展，可爱的西沙群岛必将变得更加美丽。
A thick layer of bird droppings accumulates under the trees, which is a very valuable fertilizer. The fertile Shisha Islands are where our ancestors have lived for generations. With the development of motherland construction, the lovely Shisha Islands will surely become more beautiful.
更加富饶。20. 海滨小城。我的家乡在广东，是一座海滨小城。人们走到街道尽头，就可以看见浩瀚的大海。天是蓝的，海也是蓝的。海天交界的水平线上。
More abundant. 20. Seaside town. My hometown is in Guangdong, a small seaside town. When people walk to the end of the street, they can see the vast sea. The sky is blue and so is the sea. On the horizontal line where the sea and the sky meet.
有棕色的机帆船和银白色的军舰来来往往，天空飞翔着白色的、灰色的海鸥，还飘着跟海鸥一样颜色的云朵。早晨，机帆船、军舰、海鸥、云朵都被朝阳镀上了一层金黄色。
There were brown sailboats and silver-white warships coming and going. There were white and gray seagulls flying in the sky, and there were also clouds of the same color as the seagulls. In the morning, motorboats, warships, seagulls, and clouds were all coated with a layer of golden color by the rising sun.
帆船上的渔民，军舰上的战士，他们的脸和胳膊也镀上了一层金黄色。海边是一片沙滩，沙滩上遍地是各种颜色、各种花纹的贝壳。这里的孩子见得多了。
The faces and arms of the fishermen on the sailboats and the soldiers on the warships were also coated with a layer of golden yellow. There is a beach on the beach, and the beach is covered with shells of various colors and patterns. We see a lot of children here.
都不去理睬这些贝壳，贝壳只好寂寞地躺在那里。远处响起了汽笛声，那是出海捕鱼的船队回来了。船上满载着银光闪闪的鱼，还有青色的虾和蟹，金黄色的海螺。
I ignored these shells, and the shells had to lie there lonely. A whistle sounded in the distance. It was the return of the fishing fleet. The boat was loaded with shining silver fish, as well as blue shrimps and crabs, and golden conches.
船队一靠岸，海滩上就喧闹起来。小城里每一个庭院都栽了很多树，有桉树、椰子树、橄榄树、凤凰树，还有别的许多亚热带树木。初夏，桉树叶子散发出来的香味。
As soon as the fleet docked, the beach became noisy. There are many trees in every courtyard in the small town. There are eucalyptus trees, coconut trees, olive trees, phoenix trees, and many other subtropical trees. In early summer, the fragrance of eucalyptus leaves comes.
飘得满街满院都是， 凤凰树开了花，开得那么热闹，小城好像笼罩在一片片红云中。小城的公园更美，这里载着许许多多榕树，一棵棵榕树就像一顶顶撑开的绿绒大伞。
It floats all over the streets and courtyards. The phoenix tree was in bloom, blooming so lively that the small town seemed to be shrouded in red clouds. The park in the small town is more beautiful. There are many banyan trees here. The banyan trees are like big green velvet umbrellas that are opened one after another.
树叶密不透风，可以遮太阳，挡风雨。树下摆着石凳，每逢休息的日子，石凳上总是坐满了人。小城的街道也美，除了沥青的大路都是用细沙铺成的，踩上去咯吱咯吱的响。
The leaves are airtight and can block the sun, wind, and rain. There is a stone bench under the tree. On rest days, the stone bench is always full of people. The streets of the small town are also beautiful. Except for the asphalt roads, they are all paved with fine sand, which makes a squeaking sound when you step on them.
好像踩在沙滩上一样。人们把街道打扫得十分干净，甚至连一片落叶都没有。这座海滨小城真是又美丽又整洁。21. 美丽的小兴安岭，我国东北的小兴安岭。
It's like stepping on the beach. People cleaned the streets so clean that there wasn't even a fallen leaf. This seaside town is really beautiful and neat. 21. The beautiful Xiaoxinganling. Xiaoxingan Mountains in northeast my country.
有数不清的红松、白桦、栗树，几百里连成一片，就像绿色的海洋。春天，树木抽出新的枝条，长出嫩绿的叶子。山上的积雪融化了，雪水汇成小溪，淙淙地流着。溪里长满了春水。
There are countless red pine, white birch, oak trees, hundreds of miles together, like a green ocean. In spring, trees sprout new branches and grow green leaves. The snow on the mountains melted, and the snow water gathered into a stream, flowing gurglingly. The stream is filled with spring water.
小鹿在溪边散步，它们有的俯下身子喝水，有的侧着脑袋欣赏自己映在水里的影子。夏天，树木长得葱葱茏茏，密密层层的枝叶把森林封得严严实实的。
Deer were walking by the stream. Some of them bent down to drink water, while others tilted their heads to admire their own shadows in the water. In summer, the trees grow lush and green, and the dense layers of branches and leaves seal the forest tightly.
挡住了人们的视线，遮住了蓝蓝的天空。早晨，雾从山谷里升起来，整个森林浸在乳白色的浓雾里。太阳出来了，千万缕像利剑一样的金光穿过树梢，
blocking people's sight and covering the blue sky. In the morning, fog rose from the valley, and the entire forest was immersed in a milky white fog. The sun came out, and thousands of rays of golden light, like sharp swords, passed through the treetops.
照射在工人宿舍门前的草地上，草地上盛开着各种各样的野花，红的、白的、黄的、紫的，真像个美丽的大花坛。秋天，白桦和栗树的叶子变黄了，松柏显得更苍翠了。秋风吹来，
The light shines on the grass in front of the workers' dormitory. All kinds of wild flowers are blooming on the grass, red, white, yellow, and purple. It is really like a beautiful big flower bed. In autumn, the leaves of birch and oak trees turn yellow, and pines and cypresses look greener. The autumn wind blows.
落叶在林间飞舞。这时候，森林向人们献出了酸甜可口的山葡萄，又香又脆的榛子，鲜嫩的蘑菇和木耳，还有人参等名贵药材。冬天，雪花在空中飞舞，树上积满了白雪。
Fallen leaves are flying in the forest. At this time, the forest presented people with sweet and sour mountain grapes, fragrant and crisp hazelnuts, fresh mushrooms and fungus, as well as precious medicinal materials such as ginseng. In winter, snowflakes are flying in the air. The trees are covered with snow.
地上的雪厚厚的，又松又软，常常没过膝盖。西北风呼呼地刮过树梢，紫貂和黑熊不得不躲进各自的洞里。紫貂捕到一只野兔当美餐。
The snow on the ground is thick, loose, and soft, often up to the knees. The northwest wind blew through the treetops. The sable and the black bear had to hide in their own holes. The sable caught a hare and ate it.
黑熊只好用舌头舔着自己又肥又厚的脚掌。松鼠靠秋天收藏在树洞里的松子过日子，有时候还到枝头散散步，看看春天是不是快要来临。小兴安岭一年四季景色诱人。
The black bear had no choice but to lick his fat and thick soles with his tongue. Squirrels live off the pine nuts collected in tree holes in autumn. Sometimes they even go for a walk on the branches to see if spring is coming soon. Xiaoxinganling has attractive scenery all year round.
是一座美丽的大花园，也是一座巨大的宝库。22早发白帝城，唐·李白。朝辞白帝彩云间，千里江陵一日还。 两岸猿声啼不住，轻舟已过万重山。23.
It is a beautiful big garden and a huge treasure house. 22. Early departure from Baidi City. Tang, Li Bai. Chaozi Baidi among the colorful clouds. 1,000 miles to Jiangling can be returned in one day. The apes on both sides of the strait couldn't stop crying. The boat has passed the 10,000 mountains. 23.
大自然的声音，大自然有许多美妙的声音。风是大自然的音乐家，他会在森林里演奏他的手风琴。当他翻动树叶，树叶便像歌手一样唱出各种不同的歌曲。
The sound of nature. Nature has many beautiful sounds. The wind, the musician of nature, plays his accordion in the forest. When he turned the leaves, they sang various songs like singers.
不一样的树叶有不一样的声音，不一样的季节有不一样的音乐。当微风拂过，那声音轻轻柔柔的，好像呢喃细语，让人感受到大自然的温柔。当狂风吹起，
Different leaves have different sounds, different seasons have different music. When the breeze blows, the voice is soft and soft, like a whisper, making people feel the gentleness of nature. When the strong wind blows,
整座森林都激动起来，合奏出一首雄伟的乐曲，那声音充满力量，令人感受到大自然的威力。水也是大自然的音乐家。下雨的时候，他喜欢玩打击乐器，小雨滴敲敲打打。
The whole forest was excited and sang a majestic music. The sound was full of power and made people feel the power of nature. Water is also the musician of nature. When it rains, he likes to play percussion instruments. The little raindrops are beating.
一场热闹的音乐会便开始了，滴滴答答，叮叮咚咚，所有的树林，树林里的每片树叶，所有的房子，房子的屋顶和窗户都发出不同的声音。当小雨滴汇聚起来，
A lively concert began. Tick-tock, ding-dong-dong. All the woods, every leaf in the woods, all the houses, their roofs and windows, all make different sounds. When the little raindrops gather together,
他们便一起唱着歌，小溪淙淙地流向河流，河流潺潺地流向大海，大海哗啦啦地汹涌澎湃。从一首轻快的山中小曲唱到波澜壮阔的海洋大合唱。动物是大自然的歌手。
they sang together, the stream gurgled to the river gurgled to the sea, and the sea roared. From a light mountain ditty to a magnificent ocean chorus. Animals are the singers of nature.
走在公园里，听听树上叽叽喳喳的鸟叫；坐在一棵树下，听听叽哩哩叽哩哩的虫鸣；在水塘边散步，听听蝈蝈的歌唱。你知道他们唱的是什么吗？他们的歌声好像告诉我们。
Walk in the park and listen to the chirping of birds on the trees. Sit under a tree and listen to the chirping of insects. Walk by the pond and listen to the singing of grasshoppers. Do you know what they sing? Their songs seem to tell us.
我在歌唱，我很快乐。24. 父亲、树林和鸟。父亲一生最喜欢树林和歌唱的鸟。童年时，一个春天的黎明，父亲带着我从滹沱河岸的一片树林边走过。
I'm singing, I'm happy. 24. Father, woods, and birds. My father loved woods and singing birds most in his life. When I was a child, one spring dawn, my father took me from a forest on the bank of the Tua River. Walking by.
父亲突然站定，朝幽深的雾蒙蒙的树林上上下下的望了又望，用鼻子闻了又闻。林子里有不少鸟。父亲喃喃着，并没有看见一只飞鸟，并没有听到一声鸟叫。
Father suddenly stood still, looking up and down into the deep misty woods, and smelled again and again with his nose. There are many birds in the woods. Father murmured. I didn't see a bird, and I didn't hear a bird call.
我茫茫然地望着凝神静气的像树一般兀立的父亲。父亲指着一棵树的一根树枝对我说：“看那里，没有风，叶子为什么在动？”我仔细找，没有找到动着的那几片叶子。
I stared blankly at my father, who stood as tall and calm as a tree. My father pointed to a branch of a tree and said to me, "Look there, there is no wind, why are the leaves moving?" I searched carefully and couldn't find the moving leaves.
还有鸟味，父亲轻声说，他生怕惊动鸟。我只闻到浓浓的苦苦的草木气息，没有闻到什么鸟的气味。鸟也有气味，有。树林里过夜的鸟总是一群，羽毛雾的热腾腾的。黎明时
And birdie. My father said softly, he was afraid of disturbing the birds. I only smelled the strong smell of bitter grass and trees, but no smell of birds. Birds also have smells? Have. There are always a group of birds spending the night in the woods, and their feathers are warm. At dawn.
所有的鸟抖动着浑身的羽翎，要抖进露水和湿气。 每一个张开的喙都舒畅地呼吸着，深深地呼吸着。鸟要准备唱歌了。父亲和我坐在树林边，鸟真的唱了起来。
All the birds fluttered their feathers to shake off the dew and moisture. Each open beak breathes freely, deeply. Dash, the bird is getting ready to sing. My father and I were sitting by the woods, and the birds really sang.
这是树林和鸟最快活的时刻。父亲说，我知道父亲此时也最快活。过了几天，父亲对我说，鸟最快活的时刻，飞离树枝的那一瞬间，最容易被猎人打中。为什么？我惊愕地问。
This is the time when the woods and birds are happiest. My father said. I know that my father is also the happiest at this time. A few days later, my father said to me, when a bird is happiest, the moment it flies off the branch, it is most likely to be shot by a hunter. Why? I asked in astonishment.
父亲说，黎明时的鸟翅膀潮湿，飞起来沉重。我真高兴，父亲不是猎人。25带刺的朋友。秋天，枣树上挂满了红枣，风一吹，轻轻摆动。
My father said, a bird at dawn has wet wings and feels heavy when flying. I'm so glad my father is not a hunter. 25 Thorny friend. In autumn, the jujube trees are covered with red dates, which sway gently when the wind blows.
如同无数颗飘香的玛瑙晃来晃去，看着就让人眼馋。一天晚上，新月斜挂，朦胧的月光透过树枝，斑斑驳驳地洒在地上。我刚走到后院的枣树旁边。
It's like countless fragrant agates dangling around, making people greedy just looking at them. One night, the new moon hung slanting, and the hazy moonlight filtered through the branches and sprinkled on the ground. I just walked to the jujube tree in the backyard.
忽然看见一个圆乎乎的东西正缓缓地往树上爬，我非常惊讶，赶忙贴到墙根，注视着它的一举一动。是猫还是别的什么？我暗暗地猜测着。
Suddenly, I saw a round thing slowly climbing up the tree. I was so surprised that I quickly clung to the wall and watched its every move. Is it a cat or something else? I secretly guessed.
那个东西一定没有发现我在监视它，仍旧诡秘地爬向老树杈，又爬向深处的枝条。挂满红枣的枝杈慢慢弯下来。后来，那个东西停住脚，兴许是在用力摇晃吧。
That thing must not have noticed that I was spying on it. It was still crawling mysteriously towards the old tree branches and then towards the outstretched branches. The branches covered with red dates slowly bent down. Later, the thing stopped, maybe shaking hard.
树枝哗哗作响，红枣噼里啪啦地落了一地。我还没弄清楚是怎么回事，树上那个家伙就噗的一声掉了下来，听得出摔得还挺重呢。我恍然大悟，这不是刺猬吗？很快
The branches rustled and the red dates fell to the ground with a crackle. Before I could figure out what was going on, the guy in the tree fell down with a pop. It can be heard that the fall was quite hard. I suddenly realized, isn't this a hedgehog? Soon.
他又慢慢活动起来了，看样子劲头比上树的时候足多了。他匆匆地爬来爬去，把散落的红枣逐个归拢到一起，然后就地打了一个滚儿。你猜怎么着？归拢的那堆红枣
It slowly became active again. It seems that I am more energetic than when I climbed the tree. It crawled around in a hurry, gathering the scattered red dates together one by one, and then rolled on the spot. Guess what? The pile of red dates gathered together.
全都扎在他的背上了。立刻，他的身子长大了一圈。也许是怕被人发现吧，他驮着满背的红枣，向着墙角的水沟眼急火火地跑去了。我暗暗钦佩聪明的小东西。
All stuck on its back. Immediately, its body grew in size. Perhaps because it was afraid of being discovered, it carried a load of red dates on its back and ran towards the ditch in the corner. I secretly admire, smart little thing.
偷枣的本事真高明啊！可是他住在什么地方呢？离这儿远不远？窝里还有没有伙伴？好奇心驱使我蹑手蹑脚地追到水沟眼，弯腰望去，水沟眼里黑洞洞的。
What a brilliant person you are at stealing dates. But where does it live? Is it far from here? Are there any friends in the nest? Curiosity drove me to tiptoe to the ditch. I bent down and looked at it. The ditch was full of black holes.
小刺猬已经没了踪影。26司马光，曲儿戏于庭，一儿登瓮，足跌没水中，众皆弃去，光持10击瓮破之，水迸而得活。27掌声。上小学的时候，我们班有位叫英子的同学。
The little hedgehog was gone. 26 Sima Guang. A group of children were playing in the court. One child climbed onto an urn and fell into the water. Everyone abandoned it. They just hit the urn with a stone and broke it. Water burst out and the child survived. 27. Applause. When I was in elementary school, there was a classmate named Ingzi in our class.
他很文静，总是默默地坐在教室的一角。上课前，他早早的就来到教室；下课后，他又总是最后一个离开，因为他小时候生过病，腿脚落下了残疾。
She is very quiet and always sits silently in a corner of the classroom. Before class, she came to the classroom early, and after class, she was always the last one to leave. Because she was ill when she was a child, her legs and feet became disabled.
不愿意让别人看见他走路的姿势。一天，老师让同学们轮流上讲台讲故事。轮到英子的时候，全班同学的目光一齐投向了那个角落，英子立刻把头低了下去。
She doesn't want others to see the way she walks. One day, the teacher asked the students to take turns telling stories on the podium. When it was Ingzi's turn, the eyes of the whole class turned to that corner, and Ingzi immediately lowered his head.
老师是刚调来的，还不知道英子的情况。英子犹豫了一会儿，慢吞吞地站了起来，眼圈红红的。在全班同学的注视下，他终于一摇一晃地走上了讲台。
The teacher was just transferred and didn't know Yingzi's situation yet. Ingzi hesitated for a while, then stood up slowly, with red eyes. Under the watchful eyes of the whole class, she finally staggered onto the podium.
就在英子刚刚站定的那一刻，教室里骤然间响起了掌声，那掌声热烈而持久。在掌声里，我们看到英子的泪水流了下来。掌声渐渐平息，英子也镇定了情绪。
At the moment when Ingzi stood still, applause suddenly burst out in the classroom. The applause was warm and lasting. In the applause, we saw Ingzi's tears flowing down. The applause gradually subsided and Ingzi calmed down.
开始讲述自己的一个小故事。他的普通话说得很好，声音也十分动听。故事讲完了，教室里又一次响起了热烈的掌声。英子向大家深深地鞠了一躬，然后
Start telling a little story about yourself. She speaks Mandarin very well and has a very beautiful voice. After the story was told, the classroom burst into warm applause again. Ingzi bowed deeply to everyone, and then
在掌声里一摇一晃地走下了讲台。从那以后，英子就像变了一个人似的，不再像以前那么忧郁。她和同学们一起游戏说笑，甚至在一次联欢会上还让同学们教她跳舞。
He staggered off the stage amid applause. From then on, Ingzi seemed to be a different person, no longer as melancholy as before. She played games and joked with her classmates, and even asked her classmates to teach her how to dance at a party.
几年以后，我们上了不同的中学。英子给我来信说，我永远不会忘记那掌声，因为它使我明白同学们并没有歧视我。大家的掌声给了我极大的鼓励。
A few years later, we went to different middle schools. Ingzi wrote to me and said, I will never forget that applause, because it made me understand that my classmates did not discriminate against me. Everyone's applause gave me great encouragement.
使我鼓起勇气，微笑着面对生活。28. 灰雀。有一年冬天，列宁在郊外养病，他每天到公园散步。公园里有一棵高大的白桦树，树上有3只灰雀，2只胸脯是粉红的。
Give me the courage to face life with a smile. 28. Bullfinch. One winter, Lenin was recuperating in the suburbs. He went for a walk in the park every day. There was a tall birch tree in the park, and there were 3 bullfinch on the tree, 2 had pink breasts.
一只胸脯是深红的，它们在树枝间来回跳动，婉转的歌唱，非常惹人喜爱。列宁每次走到白桦树下，都要停下来，仰望这3只欢快的灰雀，还经常给它们带来面包渣和谷粒。
One breast is dark red. They jump back and forth among the branches and sing gracefully, which is very cute. Every time Lenin walked under the birch tree, he would stop and look up at the 3 cheerful gray finches, and often brought them breadcrumbs and grains.
一天，列宁又来到公园，走到白桦树下，发现那只胸脯深红的灰雀不见了。他在周围的树林中找遍了，也没有找到。这时，列宁看见一个小男孩，就问：“孩子。”
One day, Lenin came to the park again, walked under the birch tree, and found that the crimson-breasted bullfinch was missing. He searched the surrounding woods but couldn't find it. At this time, Lenin saw a little boy and asked, Child,
你看见过一只深红色胸脯的灰雀吗？男孩说：“没，我没看见。”列宁说：“一定是飞走了，或者是冻死了。天气严寒，他怕冷。”那个男孩本来想告诉列宁灰雀没有死，但又不敢讲。
Have you ever seen a crimson-breasted bullfinch? The boy said, No. I didn't see it. Lenin said, It must have flown away or froze to death. The weather is very cold and it is afraid of the cold. The boy originally wanted to tell Lenin that the gray bird was not dead, but he did not dare to say it that.
列宁自言自语地说：“多好的灰雀啊！ 可惜再也飞不回来了。男孩看看列宁，说：“会飞回来的，一定会飞回来的。他还活着。”列宁问：“会飞回来？”“一定会飞回来。”男孩肯定地说。
Lenin said to himself, "What a wonderful gray bird, but it's a pity that it will never fly back again." The boy looked at Lenin and said, "It will fly back, it will definitely fly back. It is still alive." Lenin asked, "Will you fly back?" "I will definitely fly back," the boy said with certainty.
第二天，列宁来到白桦树下，果然又看到那只灰雀欢蹦乱跳的在枝头歌唱。那个男孩站在白桦树旁，低着头。列宁看看男孩，又看看灰雀，微笑着说：“你好，灰雀。”
The next day, Lenin came to the birch tree and saw the gray bird singing happily on the branch. The boy stood by the birch tree, head bowed. Lenin looked at the boy, then at the gray bird, smiled and said, "Hello, gray bird."
昨天你到哪儿去了？当然，灰雀没有告诉列宁昨天他去哪儿了。列宁也没再问那个男孩，因为他已经知道男孩是诚实的。29，手术台就是阵地。1939年春。
Where were you yesterday? Of course, the gray bird did not tell Lenin where it went yesterday. Lenin did not ask the boy again, because he already knew that the boy was honest. 29. The operating table is the position. Spring 1939.
齐会战斗打响了，气焰嚣张的日军刚刚到齐会镇就挨了当头一棒，被我军消灭了500多人。敌人不断反扑，战斗非常激烈。我军的伤员陆续从火线上抬下来。
The Chihui battle has begun. The arrogant Japanese army received a blow as soon as they arrived in Chihui town, and more than 500 people were killed by our army. The enemy kept counterattacking and the battle was very fierce. The wounded of our army were carried down from the firing line one after another.
在离火线不远的一座小庙里，白求恩大夫正在给伤员做手术。他已经2天2夜没休息了，眼球上布满了血丝。突然，几发炮弹落在小庙前的空地上，硝烟滚滚，弹片纷飞。
In a small temple not far from the front line of fire, Dr. Bethune was operating on the wounded. He had not rested for 2 days and 2 nights, and his eyeballs were bloodshot. Suddenly, several shells landed in the open space in front of the small temple. Smoke billowed and shrapnel flew.
小庙被烟雾淹没了。白求恩仍然镇定地站在手术台旁，他接过助手递过来的镊子，敏捷地从伤员的腹腔里取出一块弹片，丢在盘子里。敌机不断地在上空吼叫。
The small temple was flooded with smoke. Bethune still stood calmly beside the operating table. He took the forceps handed over by his assistant, quickly took out a piece of shrapnel from the wounded man's abdominal cavity, and threw it on the plate. Enemy planes kept roaring overhead.
炮弹不断地在周围爆炸。市卫生部长匆匆赶来，对白求恩说：“师长决定让您和一部分伤员离开这里。”白求恩沉思了一会儿，说：“我同意撤走部分伤员。至于我个人……
Shells continued to explode all around. The division health minister hurried over and said to Bethune, "The division commander decided to let you and some of the wounded leave here." Bethune thought for a while and said, "I agree to evacuate some of the wounded. As for me personally..."
要和战士们在一起，不能离开。部长恳求说：“白求恩同志，这儿危险，让您离开这里是战斗形势的需要啊。”白求恩说：“谢谢师长的关心。可是手术台是医生的阵地。”
I want to be with the soldiers and cannot leave. The minister pleaded, "Comrade Bethune, it is dangerous here. Letting you leave here is the need of the combat situation." Bethune said, "Thank you, teacher, for your concern. However, the operating table is the doctor's position."
战士们没有离开他们的阵地，我怎么能离开自己的阵地呢？部长同志，请您转告师长，我是一名八路军战士，不是你们的客人。白求恩低下头，继续给伤员做手术。
The soldiers did not leave their positions. How could I leave mine? Comrade Minister, please tell the division commander that I am an 8th Route Army soldier and not your guest. Bethune lowered his head and continued to operate on the wounded.
一连几发炮弹落在小庙的周围，庙的一角落下了许多瓦片，挂在门口的布帘烧着了，火苗向手术台扑过来，助手们赶忙把火扑灭。担架队抬起做过手术的伤员。
Several shells landed around the small temple. Many tiles were laid in one corner of the temple. The curtain hanging at the door caught fire, and the flames rushed towards the operating table. Assistants rushed to put out the fire. The stretcher team lifts the wounded who have undergone surgery.
迅速向后方转移。白求恩仍然争分夺秒地给伤员做手术，做了一个又一个。齐会战斗进行了3天3夜，胜利结束了。白求恩大夫在手术台旁连续工作了69个小时。
Quickly moved to the rear. Bethune still raced against time to perform operations on the wounded, one after another. The Chihue battle lasted 3 days and 3 nights, and the victory was over.